My name is Jeff. Apparently, we're being recorded now.
Sorry, yeah.
But anyways, I'm with a company called Carta. We do cap table management software, and I also work with a lot of startups as a mentor, an advisor on a number of companies, and also an angel investor. And so I love the space of working with startups. Just a little background when we're talking about LinkedIn. So 4 years ago, I had a LinkedIn account, but I had less than 100 followers or connections. And it was really through LinkedIn that I was connected to Carta. I connected with some folks back in San Francisco, was really interested in the company, thought it was cool what they were doing. And they ended up reaching out, or I saw something that one of them posted about looking for somebody in Salt Lake City. And so I reached back out and they said, yeah, do you know anyone interested that might be interested in Salt Lake City? And I connected with them. And that's how I actually got on with Carta. They ended up flying into Salt Lake City and we went to some events together, and they ended up opening up an office in Salt Lake City, and I ended up joining. So just to talk a little bit about the benefits that LinkedIn can provide, that was one benefit I saw right away early on in finding a new opportunity. And I think that that's often what you think of LinkedIn as. But some of the other benefits I was thinking about was some of the relationships I've made, with Carta. And we'll go through some tips and tricks here, but as I've established myself and kind of my personal brand on LinkedIn, I've focused on something I'm really passionate about. And so it makes it easy for me to post because it's stuff that I love. So, and I love sharing. So it's things about startups, about venture capital, about founders, or even highlighting, founders and things like that. I love that. And so it doesn't feel like work to me. I went back and looked at how many posts I had made on average for, the last few months. And it's right around 40 to 50 posts a month. And so that is more than once a day. And I will tell you, there are times where I have like, 5 or 6 things that I would love to share. And I'm like, no, I can't blast all this stuff out. And I don't have time to write everything up, but it's never a lack of content for me, because I'm always reading and finding stuff that I think is really cool that I would love to share. And so, that's what I do, 40 to 50 posts. And typically the way it will work for me is, as I start off my day, I'll usually scroll through the many, newsletters or whatever that I subscribe to. And I have to kind of sort through them and go, okay, this one doesn't sound that interesting today, or that one does. But some of the ones that I love following are like the AVC, which is a blog post from Fred Wilson at Union Square Ventures. And I love following him. And every once in a while, I'll catch something that he says, and I'll like, okay, this is too good, I have to share this. And it's easy to share stuff like that, or any epiphanies that you get from reading his stuff. But then I'll also subscribe to things like, Austin Inno, because I'm involved with the Austin ecosystem, or the Colorado Inno is another newsletter, PitchBook, Axios, some things like that, where I'll get these new newsletters. And I mean, just as an example of today, so one of the stories I saw highlighted was that Spiff, a local company here, just raised a Series B round of $46 million. I know the founder and some of the folks over there. And so it's like, oh man, that is awesome. Congratulations. I got to post and share this and give them a shout out, because it's beneficial for the entire ecosystem here in Utah when you see things like that. So that's the type of stuff that I'll do. Again, it's all centered around my passions and what I'm excited about, because that makes it easy to share. I will go back to one of the other benefits I mentioned. I follow like Austin and Denver, Boulder, and some places like that. During COVID, over the last year and a half, I was given the Southwest territory for Carta as well as the Mountain West, and I had, whereas I was really used to traveling and I'd be in Denver or Boulder quite often before COVID. Um, when I got this new territory, I didn't know anyone in Austin. I didn't know anyone in the space in anywhere in the Southwest region really. And so I had to use LinkedIn to kind of connect with the ecosystems there. And it has been fantastic. I feel like I'm part of the ecosystem in Houston, Dallas, Austin, without ever having been there on behalf of Carta. And so it's fascinating what you can do and the connections you can make through LinkedIn, by just trying to tap into the ecosystems in different locations, and starting to subscribe to some of the things, and then shouting out to different companies or partners that you meet, and commenting on things that you see that are in that ecosystem, in your domain. So those are some things that I've seen, some benefits I've seen from LinkedIn. Taylor, how are we doing on time? Do I have another 4 or 5 minutes? Or
Yep, totally.
I had a couple other things that I thought might be worth sharing. Just in terms of the benefits, I went back and looked at the last few months, and on average, I'm getting about 2,500 to maybe 3,000 or 3,500 views per post. And so, that's getting your brand out there, letting people know kind of what you do. And then some other metrics I found was what that adds up to. Oh, I also have about 50 reactions on average to my posts. And this has come over time as I've kind of developed, I've now got like almost 10,000 followers, maybe 5,000 connections. But it's all been organic through just, people reaching out and wanting to follow stuff that I'm posting that are in that space. And my average is about 10 comments per post. And so that's kind of where I'm looking at now. I will say about half of those are mine, because I will respond to those that comment. So some get more interaction than others, some get zero interaction, right? But through that, one of the things that I've found is I have had people reach out to me on LinkedIn and ask about Carta and say, hey, I saw that, you're with Carta. Can you help me with this or whatever? But more importantly, it's created connections and even friendships that I've formed through LinkedIn. And that's been really cool. I mean, today I got invited to go play golf with somebody that I've connected with over LinkedIn, and we've never actually met in person, but hopefully we will. So things like that are kind of cool on a professional and a personal level. I've gotten to know a lot of the venture capital folks, and so that's been super helpful and beneficial. A lot of that's through LinkedIn that's led to personal interactions. And then, the other thing that I'll mention is just, again, focusing on what you're passionate about or what you're good at. With me, it's startups, VCs, private markets, stuff like that. For somebody else, it might be, marketing is your passion, and branding, or SEO and influencer marketing, stuff like that, where the people that you're going to attract and want to connect with are going to be, with that. Or you might be really interested in Bitcoin or crypto or something like that. That's what you can post about and kind of gear your network around. So just to wrap things up, I'll give you a couple of tips that I've learned over the past few years that have worked for me. I don't know if they're official or things that I've just kind of anecdotally figured out, but consistency seems to be good. If you can post at the same time of the day, for some reason, it seems to do well. But I've also found that mornings and evenings, I personally get a lot more traction. So whatever that's worth, I'll get more interactions and reactions from folks when I post earlier in the morning or at evening, kind of 5 or 6 o'clock in the evening. I've also found that I'll get people that will actually direct message me and ask if I will like their post or things like that. And I figured out why they've done that. It's because if you can post, the sooner you can get people reacting to your post, the more traction you'll get. So if you posted something and it didn't get a lot of traction for the first, hour, you're probably not going to get much traction or visibility on that post. So it's kind of that first interaction and kind of leading up to that is what kind of helps things go viral, if you will. The other thing is I've noticed that if you see something you like that somebody else has posted, it's kind of weird, but don't share it. Actually just take it and make it your own post and give credit to the person and tag them. If you share something, you typically don't get very good interaction or exposure or anything else. And so just a tip there. And I know there's that little share button that makes it super easy. I'll just tell you from experience, you use that and you won't get a lot of reach in general. That's not always the case, but in general. And then the other thing that I found to be very useful is not just posting your own content, but look for things that you are interested in from others that are posting. And sometimes you can share some of the things that other people have posted because your network is totally different than theirs. And I always try and give them credit to say, this was a great post by so-and-so, tag them, give them a shout out. But you can reach a different audience with that same type of content, or maybe add your perspective. And then by doing that, you have the opportunity to start engaging with the person that did the content and commenting on their posts and trying to what I've heard referred to as winning the conversation in the post. If you can get other people engaged and interested in talking about somebody else's post, that's a great way to expand your network, because those are probably people that you're not connected with, and they may be interested in what your perspectives are and and want to connect with you as well. So last two I have was I heard it from one of my colleagues that they said use emojis. And so I've done that. And I don't know if it's been helpful or not, but it seems to make it more fun to read. And I've noticed that on some other posts of people I follow. So use emojis, but I think the bigger point is make it readable. Instead of having everything in one paragraph, spread stuff out, make it so it's easy to read, bullet points, whatever. Just make it readable. In fact, you could easily take somebody else's content that they put in a big long paragraph, and simply, if you think it resonates and you've read it, you could actually just kind of copy and paste it and then make it readable and give them credit, and you'll probably end up getting more traction than they do. I've actually seen that work. And then I tend to use photos as well. I'll just either create a quick photo in Canva or take a screenshot of something that's relevant, and it seems to catch people's attention a little bit better. But then I can also tag different people that it might be relevant to in the photo. So that's another tip or trick that might be beneficial. So all right, so that's what I had, Taylor. I hope that's helpful and somewhat beneficial to the group here.
That was awesome. I was furiously taking notes, and I got 13 tips. So I'll share those, but yeah, it was good. I think what I've really liked to see about your LinkedIn presence, Jeff, is probably the consistency and the topic relevancy. Like, it's interesting to me, and so I'm always looking forward to seeing what you post about, because I think we have similar interests. And I think those were some of the things that I thought, hey, I want Jeff to come and talk to the group, because I don't know I'm guessing that most of us, when we post, aren't consistently getting thousands of people to view our stuff. And the number of views per month that you're, at least the math that I'm doing, is pretty awesome. I don't see you as a TikTok influencer, which is also nice. I wanted that to be more of a, look, this is someone in the professional realm that's just posting good content. So those
You
were
have
my thoughts.
TikTok? You haven't seen me on TikTok, Taylor?
I haven't.
I don't have a TikTok account, so my daughter does.
It looks like there's some questions coming in, Jeff, but if you don't mind just addressing some of these questions, I think it would be good to start just kicking off a conversation and sharing best practices of some of these things. I put in 3 questions, but you're welcome to jump to where it looks like.
Do you have any, did you read through some of them? Are there any that stand out? Getting through a couple of comments. How do you approach a new ecosystem or get involved? Oh, these are yours, Taylor.
Yeah, those are mine, just in terms of notes of like when you jump into a new city or you're looking to be geographically focused, what are the first 2 or 3 things that you do?
Yeah, great question. So Austin, Texas is a great example. I had to go in and figure out, okay, who are the players? You know, I didn't know ATX Ventures was there or some of the other venture capital firms. I didn't know any of the companies, the founders. And so I had to kind of figure out who the players were just by kind of searching on the internet and searching on LinkedIn, Austin, Texas, right? And then you'd find the venture capital firms that are there. You'd connect with people there just through LinkedIn. So now you're following them so that you'd see things that they post, and then you'd see who is interacting there. You go, oh, hey, Mark Nathan down there at Ethan at you know, at a law firm down there is like way into the consumer products good companies, and so he's a person to connect with. He actually has a newsletter. Oh, I'll subscribe to it. And so then you start seeing who's interacting with his content, and you start to pretty quickly figure out who the players are in these ecosystems, and it kind of evolves from there. Interesting story. I connected with Mike Myers down at ATX Ventures. He reached out to me, and this was pre-COVID that we connected, and we just started kind of chatting back and forth and on LinkedIn and sharing content with each other. But he reached out this past year and said, hey, I'm going to be in Salt Lake City. You want to go skiing? So I got a chance to meet Mike in person. He ended up introducing me to a bunch of others in the ecosystem there. But I've never been to Austin, but I've had people from Austin come to Salt Lake and been able to meet them that way. So
Very cool.
Just connecting with people through LinkedIn is super helpful in those ecosystems.
Awesome. If you're posting for a company, are you doing much posting for Carta? And how do you get the same engagement? Or do you just post on your own account?
No, I don't post anything for Carta's account. What I will do is like Carta posts its own content. And I mean, they post a lot, so I can't repost everything. But if I see something that I think is really relevant for my network or that I think is super cool, like Carta just came out with a total compensation product that is brand new, and it's amazing. And so when they released that, they have a blog post that they put out. I did my own little, 3-paragraph write-up and said, check this out. This is super cool. And then link to the blog post. But I'm posting cool stuff about Carta that's relevant to my network. But I'm not posting on behalf of Carta, if that makes sense.
Yeah. Are you using any automation tools, or is this just your guerrilla warfare?
Yeah, that's another good question. I've actually used a couple where you can go in and time out when you're going to post, and that was working real well. I think I was using Hootsuite at one point, and then they started wanting to charge me, and I was like, oh man. So I didn't sign up. I probably should. because there are a lot of times where I'll find content. I'm like, oh, I need to share this, but I just posted something like 2 hours ago. It's like, I'm not going to flood, the LinkedIn. So, so I'll wait, and sometimes I get around to posting it again and sometimes I don't. So
Okay.
my advice would be, yes, I would use something, but I haven't actually done it. So that's good advice for myself.
And when you're posting, that's good. It's good to hear. When you're posting, how are you using hashtags or tagging people or visuals? How do you use those best?
Yeah. Well, first off, the visuals, I tend to like it. I've heard people say that you get better traction when you're just doing text. I haven't found that to be the case. And I'm drawn more to a picture that if I'm scrolling through something and I see that something says, IPO or venture capital in it, I'll probably take more notice and at least, check it out a little bit. So I typically use pictures. I'll just like do a screenshot of, if the article that I'm referencing has a photo associated with it, I'll like take a screenshot of it and use that, or create my own little graphic in Canva. So that's one. In terms of tagging, I think it's important to tag people, especially if you're giving somebody a shout out. Otherwise, there's a good chance they'll never even see it. So today, for example, when Spiff announced, I tagged Jaron Paul, the CEO, Tanner Lacey, who's the, over there at Spiff, and a couple of people that I know that would be interested in it. I tagged them, and so it hits their feed. And then they'll typically comment or, say, I'll typically also tag them in the picture, which is another reason I'll use a picture, because I find that I like that better anyways than just putting like a comment where you have a list of 20 people that you've tagged. I like to do it better in the photo. So, and and then the other was hashtags. On hashtags, I've heard people say, and I haven't validated it, but I've heard people say, don't use more than 3 hashtags. I don't know if that's accurate or not, but I've tried to conform more to that just to see. But I'll usually maybe do a couple of hashtags in the body. So if it's talking about founders or startups, I'll hashtag that, and maybe hashtag like venture capital at the bottom or something like that. But my hashtags are pretty generic and general, having to do with stuff that my network's probably interested in.
Okay. And are you time blocking part of your day every day to your posts on LinkedIn, or is it more organic?
Totally organic. It'd probably be good for me to time block, but I'm not very good at that. So if I come across something, I might get a newsletter halfway through the day, and then I have time. I guess in some sense I'm time blocking because I'll have time to actually read that article. And if something stands out that I'm like, oh, this is awesome, I want to share it, then I may take a couple minutes to, just write something up and post something. A lot of times I'll get something midway through the day and I don't have time to read it. And so it might be the next morning that I've got it in my inbox and I'll have time to read through it. And, and if I catch something at that point, and it's relevant, then I'll share it then.
Okay. 2 different comments, one from Spencer Lovelace and Jim. One saying, is much of your success just showing up consistently and doing this daily? And then Jim asking about Tuesday and Wednesday being the best days to post for traffic. What have you found to be the case?
Yeah, excellent questions. I think consistency is beneficial. So one of the metrics that I see, and I don't know how relevant it is or not, but LinkedIn will show you how many people have visited your profile page, which kind of indicates whether they're interested in, learning more about you and your personal brand, I guess. I've noticed that if I'm not consistent, like I went to Hawaii for a couple of weeks and I didn't post a whole lot. And I saw that drop significantly. And then it was actually a little bit harder to get it back going again. So I don't know if there's something to do with the algorithm or you start to lose people's attention or something, but I have seen there seems to be something about consistency. And then what was the other question? Kind of had to do with that.
If there are days that are better for posts.
Your Wednesday or yeah, I'd heard that too. And I anecdotally, I kind of saw that like midweek, a Tuesday, Wednesday, Thursday seems to do well. But I'll tell you, some of the most traction I've got on posts have come over the weekends, like a Saturday post that, I thought I'd just share because I didn't have time during the week or something. And I had some time. And so I don't go by that rule. I think you do it more organically. If you can schedule things out, be consistent. And yeah, I don't know. I wouldn't go by timing it on a day, a specific day.
Okay. Cool. Have I missed any questions? I was trying to scroll through. Did anybody else have any questions or comments that I missed?
If we've got any time, I would love to hear others and, any tips and tricks that others have, because I definitely don't have a monopoly on things that work on LinkedIn.
Yeah. What else? Let's open it up. What else has anyone else found to be effective?
Hey, Taylor, I don't know that I have any tricks or tips, but I have a question. Does it ever become not awkward?
Not awkward?
Yeah.
I found that if you're posting and sharing something that you think is going to be valuable for others, it removes the awkwardness. If it's self-promoting, that's where it gets awkward for me. Like, for example, I posted something about my daughter's graduation, and that, surprisingly, that's one that gets the most attention, right? But I wanted to tie this in to not only recognize her, because I encouraged her to get a LinkedIn profile, and so I got to tag her for the first time. But I tied this into what advice would you as my network give to your daughter who's graduating high school and looking at a career? And so now it becomes relevant rather than saying, hey, my daughter graduated, everybody, tell her congratulations. That's great. But the advice that she got, I think there were like, 70, 80 comments of advice. And I'm like, Callan, you've got to go read this advice. This is awesome. And so things like that, it's not awkward because I'm kind of asking a question or, providing benefit and value for others that might be in that same circumstance where they can benefit from knowing what advice is out there for them.
Jeff, tell us about your use of stories, because between you and Gary Vee, you might be the only two who use stories on LinkedIn.
So I don't know. What's a good example? I don't know that I consciously use stories, but I think it just comes natural that, I'll use my own personal experiences and say, oh, I just met this founder. Check out what they're doing. This is so cool because it's appealing to me and I like sharing it. I think it's going to be cool to others. Do you have any other specific stories that might have caught your attention?
And I guess to be more clear, the stories feature is like the TikTok, Instagram feature of LinkedIn, not like, yeah. So that's what I meant. But I think your answer hits on that as well.
I don't even think about that really. I
I
will.
would like to add something to your point and to Mac's points, actually. So there's a company called Sea Legacy. I think they're based in the US. And 2 weeks ago, I think they collaborated with other sustainable and organic entrepreneurs all across North America, not only in clothing, but like, selling candles, selling toothbrushes, selling vegan cookie jars, a cookie dough, sorry. And that was a very, very collaborative and very innovative idea to get people in the same domain of sustainability on the page. And they use Instagram and LinkedIn and not Facebook. Because I follow Sea Legacy, and that was very cool to see that, they are getting everybody in the same domain of sustainability together, but they all have different products. So that was a very, very cool, that really got my attention.
So that brings up a great point, Sid, because I think the way I've used stories, and I honestly, I didn't know anybody was even looking at them, but I use that more for like an Instagram, for LinkedIn, like stuff that I can't post on, like pictures of me hiking or, doing something over the weekend. I can throw a story up there. It's just a picture or something that I come across and just throw a random picture up there and be that, that's kind of getting to know me as a person. That's how I'll use stories. I honestly didn't know people were even watching those
But depending, Jeff, how you sell that, right? For example, taking your same example, if you're putting up a story of you hiking, you can talk about the kind of clothes you're wearing, for example. And if you come from a clothing background, unless you can talk about that, we went hiking and we talked about tech, couple of mates, we went hiking or something like that. So you can use that story as your personal story, but also talk about your work, your domain. So what do you want to sell? So people can look at Jeff hiking, but also Jeff working in that hike. I don't know if that makes sense, but you can sell your product in your personal image of and on LinkedIn.
Okay, very cool. Now I don't know if you can actually put like comments or anything like that on the LinkedIn.
You can put text on LinkedIn and Instagram both.
Where do you do that? Because that's something new for me.
I can tell you.
Are you guys commenting and stuff like that on the stories?
Yes, you can. On LinkedIn, yes, you can.
Okay, I didn't know that.
Yep. Yep. You can also send emojis. So you can send like clapping or heart or fire emojis on LinkedIn stories as well.
I have seen that.
Yeah.
But I guess the text that you can put in, are you referring to just kind of over the picture? Like you can type something in like.
That is correct. Yeah. So like, for example, a hashtag chilling in Yosemite.
Okay, gotcha. Yes, yeah. I do know about that, but I don't think there's any comments that come in from other people about your stories.
No, so you can comment, but it'll go to your personal chat. So I can't see if let's say Taylor comments on your personal story.
Yep.
Yeah. So the mechanism that I understand is if you respond to a story, it just opens up the LinkedIn DM feature. So then it's just like a conversation.
That's where I'm getting all these DMs then. I will say I'm not very good at responding to my LinkedIn DMs because I have email. I mean, I can barely keep up with my email, right? And then I've got Slack and my text messages and all that stuff. And LinkedIn direct messages seem to go neglected sometimes. And I feel bad, but I try and clean it up every once in a while.
That's awesome.
You better connect with all of us because I'm sure you're gonna get a bunch of ask for connecting after today.
Absolutely. Yeah. I'm good with connecting with people for sure.
I was just going to say that we should all, it sounds like, Jeff, you said that if we interact with a post early on, and if you're clicking see more, I saw in the comments, we should all just have a pact that if anyone on here posts something, we all do that so that LinkedIn's algorithms pick up on each other's posts. But Jeff, this has been awesome.
And I know we got to wrap up, but I have had people actually say, hey, I'm going to be posting something in 1 hour. Will you like it and comment on it? I don't know that I liked. I've never done that. That feels a little awkward, kind of going to the awkward stage there. But it goes to the point that if there's a way to get more interaction among people, and so I loved your idea of, if there's something that we as a group, if we see Taylor post something, we'll all interact and jump on it.
I like it. I think it should be a group effort. Everybody's posts are going to go viral now. Jeff, this is awesome. Thanks so much. I appreciate it. I'll be posting the video and my notes for everybody up on the website. So yeah, really appreciate your time, Jeff. Thanks for sharing, and let the group know if we can do anything for you. And we'll see everybody next week. Thanks.
Yeah, thanks, Taylor. Thanks, everybody.